Today, I want to talk about something that is very important for us as a collective to transcend the collective wound being inauthenticity as soul disconnection. Hello, my name is Jordan Johnson from JoJoEmpathic.com. I'm a psychic medium and medical intuitive. I help people, not just in America, but around the world, to tap into their intuitive intelligence system, that of which I know as our bio-spiritual ecology. This is long forgotten knowledge that we are in a time of bringing back. In scripture, they marked calendars through the sky. And if we were to look at the sky now, although we're in a different type of calendar, we are under the sky of what scripture would call end times. So the ancient prophets called this end times. Now, is the world going to end? Me as a prophet, I do see world events before they happen. And no, I'm not tied to any religious structure. Do I think the world's ending? No. But I think the time is now under the age of Aquarius. I think it's accurate that we are ending an old, outdated patriarchal consciousness. So when we think of end times, we are actually shifting from a consciousness state into what we would call in the spiritual community maybe new earth. Okay? The time is now, and you don't want to be late. You want to get on board. It does take courage to step outside of what we may know as the construct or the matrix and skip to the beat of your own drum. So, one of the issues that I see as to why this is so difficult is that we do have a collective wound, not only in America, but around the world in authenticity. So today's video is about inauthenticity and how this affects the way we look at ourselves, the way we love ourselves, the way we look at others and love others, our relationships, our health, our healing, the career choices that we choose, the trends that we choose to follow. And I'm going to dive deep into some practical tips to help you kind of get back into your authentic roots. And if you've never really tapped into your authenticity, maybe this video is inspiring and work with me. I can help you to unfold that. So, inauthenticity isn't just a social issue, it's actually a deep spiritual wound. And it's at the root, I believe, of what we are seeing right now in the collective, all of the turmoil, all of the pain, all of the depression, the confusion, the disease. Okay, so inauthenticity, if you are struggling with this, it's not that you're lying. It's not that you're living a lie. It's that you're living from the outer construct rather than your own inner signal. Okay? You've given your power away to systems that are not for you. And there's a disconnect between the soul and the body. Now, this is important and at the key of health, although not very traditional, especially in Western medicine. And no, I'm not a doctor. I can't prescribe or diagnose. I'm going to get that out there. But I am here to tell you that we are soul at our deepest essence. And if you understand metaphysics or physics in general, we are in what we would know as a matrix or a construct. And the third dimension is where we exist here in the earthly plane. Now, the body dies, it is not eternal, but the soul is. And this is why your authenticity and your ability to express your authentic expression is so important because your soul matters. And we are here to live soulful lives. We are here not just to hustle and to stress and to fight. We're here to experience joy, happiness, love, togetherness. Humans are interdependent creatures. We need one another. And a lot of the constructs that we see today, such as man-made religions, not saying there's not truths in all, they tend to separate us. They tend to have us believe that we have a punishing God that's going to condemn people to hell, some guy on a throne upstairs, ready to punish us, right? And so a lot of times, if you had punishing parents, you will resonate with that type of God. You will believe the universe is punishing subconsciously. We look into neuroscience. So yes, there is a science behind it, and there's also a science behind intuition. I'll break that down in another video. Let's go back to being authentic because I really want us all to be just us and uniquely, okay? And not be afraid to be yourself. Women have been punished, stoned to death, hung, especially if you were like a mystic, like me, or a prophetess, or a midwife. Okay, all of this, the lost goddess was stolen from us. Now, in Western religion, we have Catholicism is probably one of the only religions we see in the West that actually does acknowledge the lost goddess, Mary, Mother Mary. But I'll tell you this, if there's any minister or church saying that they work with the Mother Mary and not talking about sacred sensuality or erotic sensuality, they're not really working with the spirit of Mary. And if there's a minister on stage claiming that, they have an anointing, but they're not a medium or a conduit, and they don't know the language of spirit, more likely they have a lens over what their visions are. So they think all of the spirits that they're talking to are just Jesus, when in reality, we have angels, we've got guides, we've got deceased loved ones on the other side that guide us for our highest good. Remember, we never die. That's an illusion tied to the third dimension. So it's really important that we break away from these systems. It's end times. We must, okay? We can't stop this. It's for the best. It's for unity. Unity consciousness is fundamentally the only constant in this universe that is the truest and highest form of truth. So truth exists at different levels of consciousness. I like to give the example of if we were in a building with 17 floors, okay? We'll use the number 13. 13, the number of the divine goddess that's been, it's been deemed as witchcraft. We used to have an old calendar in our world where there were 13 months in a calendar, and this has to do with 13 moon cycles for women. Okay, so we bleed with the moon. You don't want to resist that, especially if you're dealing with reproductive system imbalances or feeling disconnected from your chi or prana. In the West, we call this Holy Spirit, or sexual essence. Okay, your creator force, your creation elixir. If you're feeling disconnected or having diseases down there, you want to tune into the natural rhythms of our nature. Okay, so because we are cyclical beings with the cyclical nature of our world. And the more we are in one with this cycle, the more we're in one with ourself and the more healed we become. And then we get our power back, okay? So we need to be tapping back into our soul essence, our natural rhythms. Everything in today's society tries to rip us from our natural rhythms, whether right now it's winter time. I'm in Frisco, Texas in December. So we're closing into the winter solstice, right? And we have the witchcraft or pagan ritual of the trees coming in the house. And this is really a time that our ancestors would be in darkness and present with darkness. So this is traditionally a really good time for humans to have the lights off in their home and to, operate with candlelight or fireplace. This is why they have the LED lights on the Christmas tree. And if you've ever, I've had people write into me, and when I read them, it's like I'm seeing that like the lighting is affecting their mood and affecting their cycles. And the person's like, that's literally what's going on. I have this factory job and I can't even sleep anymore because the lights are this certain kind of light. So they know what they're doing. They're very strategic. And of course, they demonize people like me that want to talk about it and help us, ladies, to reclaim the lost goddess and our moons. I love my moon cycle. It's sacred to me. Used to have heavy cycles, painful cycles, cysts, PMS. I mean, it's crazy. I don't have any of that anymore. It's not painful. It's beautiful to me. It's sacred and a time of deep connection with nature. Okay. So let's go back to authenticity. Let's get more authentic. So, what's happening? When you are struggling with inauthenticity, the ego identity is overriding your soul's identity. Usually, this is coming from a place of needing validation, needing love, needing connection from someone else. So, a lot of times in our world, what I'm seeing is that we're making choices with our free will, which we do have. Okay. I'll make another video on this. I think determinism is Satanism, in my opinion. Um, there is free will. It's not just a linear plane, okay? There is destiny and there is also free will. So with our free will, we're making choices. And I see this a lot of times for 18-year-olds going into college that don't even want to go into college. And then they feel a pressure too from their folks and society to do it, and they go into debt and they choose careers that they don't even really end up sticking with. And it causes a lot of soul turmoil. But why are they doing that? Why do we stray away from our authentic nature? Well, validation. It will make me have approval from my parents if I have this career. I will be socially acceptable or deemed as good, the good one, if I go in this direction versus maybe you're meant to be a healer like me. And it's hard because they'll bring up the Bible and say I should be stoned to death or hung. I'm like, your God is horrible. Yahweh was vicious, vicious. And so it takes courage to be authentic. Okay. So you're doing it because you have an ego identity, you're not tuned into your soul identity. So essentially, when you want to become more authentic, you tune into soul. Okay. Now, the heart, the throat, and sacral chakras are the three main areas or energy centers of the body that fall out of coherence. We want to be coherent with our voice, throat chakra, our ability to love and forgive, heart chakra, our sacral chakra is where we create. It's our tied to the reproductive system. Of course, they demonize chakras too. But if you didn't know, in Christianity, the mystical Christianity is called Gnosticism. In Jewish mysticism, it's called Kabbalah. And there's a Gnostic saint named Saint Teresa of Avila, if you've ever heard of her. She's really known for her book on the seven mansions. So when you're into spirituality or you're reading the Bible or you're in mediumship, you're talking to your angels, you are talking through symbology and you feel and discern it through your body. Okay. So what this mystic was saying is the seven mansions are corresponding with the seven chakras. She was really giving us an understanding of our inner energy systems and how they're all interconnected. Now, if you're clairvoyant like myself, you see chakras. In the collective, they look very dim. Okay, people's auras right now are suffering. And again, that's why I'm here, hoping to make this video to help us get into coherence. Okay, when we're in coherence, our chi, our prana, we call in the East, in the West, Holy Spirit can flow through us freely. We're in coherence, we're in flow, we're in harmony. If you're a sound healer or have ever had sound healing, one of the laws of sound healing is that the higher oscillation entrains the lower vibration. So I have tuning forks when I'm working with clients, and that high vibrational tone can actually break up distortions in the field. And the higher vibration will train or tune out and bring harmony to where there's distortion in the field. And this is why you always protect your senses. Okay. We want to get out of the ways of the world. We want to stop following the mass religion. We want to stop following all these trends. Okay. They are here to hijack your senses. What you hear, what you see, taste, smell, and touch interfere with your emotions. Okay, this is planet emotion, ocean. Okay, we're more of an ocean than we are Earth. And water is the frequency of emotion, it's feminine, it's currency. So we want to master that in order to be manifestors, in order to help us pray and to see and to live our best lives versus being controlled by the emotion, controlled by the third dimension, and controlled by our more of the animalistic part of our brain. Okay? Coherence is the way that we are in harmony and can remain in authenticity. You have to also understand that in today's world, people outsource truth instead of remembering it. That's key. I think awakening is about remembrance. You remember who you are. You remember that you're a soul, you're a spirit, and that you are connected, that God is not outside of you. God is within, the goddess is within. Okay, and we remember that. And once we do, we become more empowered. And when authenticity collapses, the soul tends to go quiet. And then what we notice in spirituality is substitutes will rush in and take over the vessel. So I'll claim that we're all mediums, we're all a conduit. Your flesh is the conduit, your flesh is the medium, your soul, your spirit, you're not in your body. If you can clairvoyantly see, you'll know this. You're not in there it's like you're all energy that has a body, okay? And then all of your energy, which makes up your aura, which can tell a lot. I'll make a video on auras if you guys want to see that, drop a comment. Um, we as humans that are having, we're spirits having a human experience, we run the risk of something called what we know in maybe religion or spirituality is possession. Now, I grew up a devout Christian, and my grandparents were completely paralyzed with multiple sclerosis. And for me as a Christian, I would look at my grandparents and say, this is spiritual. This is evil, that we're not meant to be restrained like this. There's a soul in there. And as an adult, I'm trained in a clinical form of depossession, rooted in unconditional love, a little different than what the priests do. I'll make another video on that as well. And if you are struggling with what you would say is a possession or spiritual attachment, please book a reading with me. I can help you and remotely. Okay. What we're not taught in Christianity about possession is, let's say you're a matriarch in your family, you're trying to understand this more deeply so you can help yourself, your kids, and your family. You need to understand what type of entity or energy is possessing you or your family member, your child you're trying to help heal. It's not always demons. And actually, as I read the collective, demons are not really what are possessing people, the average person, no. Usually it's an earthbound spirit, which is like you and I as a soul, and we didn't cross over into what we may call heaven or the light. And they're kind of trapped in the astral plane, which we know is the fourth dimension, which they usually will then latch on to us somewhere in our energy field and drain and siphon and control us. And a lot of times we're walking around like this. We're told it's evil to see. We're told you don't want to see it. Don't tap into your third eye. It's evil. You'll see darkness. No, you'll see yourself at first. This is why a lot of the witches that go on YouTube and they say, I went to spirituality and it was so dark and I had a horrible time, yada yada, and then they go run back to religion. It's because they woke up and saw themselves and didn't have the skills or discernment to understand that you're supposed to transcend that. You're not supposed to be fearing yourself or fearing darkness or backing down to it. You fight it through transcending it and transmuting it, and then you're clear. Most people don't make it to that point of awakening. So it's not only spirits, you can also be possessed by an unresolved part of yourself. I'm known mainly as a medical intuitive. I have a natural ability through psychic ability and empathic ability, and also medical mediumship too. Your angels will tell you what you need to do to heal. People don't know that. And that's spirit communication. But empathically, I can feel in my own body disease, okay? Psychically, I can know the pattern that caused disease. So it's a combination of three different intelligence systems that I tap in to give these readings. And one of the first things that I noticed as a medical intuitive is that the psyche is deeply fragmented. I studied a lot of psychology. My university says we're biology and pre-med, but I never really was taught this. I saw this through experience, and when I connect with other healers, they see it too. Think about it like this. We'll bring in quantum physics here. So the reality about the universe in this matrix, it's a stimulation. We live in a fractal universe. You are literally a fractal of God or the goddess. And so, we start as one and it comes down. If you think of the flower of life, the circle that's never ending, and then it divides into two. Okay, so we're here in the third dimension where two exists. That's where we have the duality or this polarity, the masculine, the feminine, the light, the dark, the good, the evil. Okay, when we transcend higher into maybe fifth dimensional thought, that's where you rise into unconditional love, and there's one source, one love, unity. Okay, so being a fractal of God is just kind of a general understanding of what I mean when the soul is fragmented. So we go through different traumas in life, and the soul will split. It does this to form two parts, one that's being protected and one that protects the other part. There can be different occurrences, and this is why you should sit with a trained psychic or minister or healer that knows how to identify this to help you come back to wholeness. Because you can have two parts of yourself and feel very pulled in different directions. Does that sound familiar to you? You'll usually get a diagnosis of something like bipolar, right? But it's a fragmented part of your consciousness that most Western medicine practitioners can't see. And there's techniques you can use to integrate back to wholeness. Another part of that is when you fragment, part of you can actually leave your aura field and be stuck. Let's say there's a trauma in a kitchen. Part of you can, be stuck where that trauma took place, and you're missing a part of you. And it also breaks through your aura when that happens. I see it, and I help people to call it back. It's as simple as calling it back. You don't need anybody else to do that, okay? But you have that power yourself. Don't let anybody tell you different. You can be possessed by that unresolved part of yourself. So a lot of times, like, we're possessed by our inner child, okay? There can be positive possession. Let's say a part of you is the mystic, a part of you is the matriarch, a part of you is the healer, a part of you is the cook or the chef. It's good to embody that feminine energy, right? And when you need it. And it's good also to embody that energy of the chef when you need to cook, or embodiment of the soccer athlete, archetypal energy, and you go and play soccer. So there can be positive possession, okay? But usually when you're dealing with inauthenticity, you're ran by an unresolved part of yourself or another spirit. Now, there's also earthbound, but there's also entities too, that of which I call dark force entities. Some may call this a demon if you want to, that's fine. That is more common to see. The average person have dark force entities. I'm going to make a whole video on demonic energy, so you can tune into that. Please like, subscribe, wherever this is being broadcasted. Drop a comment, say hello. Please support my channel. When I see demonic energy, it's very rare. It's more in the higher up areas of the world, like politics. Those people in politics are usually ran like puppets by dark demons, or we would call fallen angels. That's not the average person. Um, Certain people that have been in the military and have gone into war industries where they've given up their free will and someone else, those are the toughest cases to depossess. You'll also see demonic activity in cults, okay, certain churches and religions. But otherwise, usually it's something else. So you have to find out what's leading your consciousness. If you were, put into the school system I was growing up, which isn't really for us, isn't always the truth, and it is repressing. Um, you might be, operating through the consciousness of what you learned through school. You might be operating through the consciousness of your parents. You might be operating through the consciousness of the Bible, not really necessarily your own. So that's what I mean when authenticity collapses, the soul goes quiet, and substitutes rush in. Okay. So where in our lives does this affect us? I think number one, relationships, yes, with ourself, okay? But what I'm seeing in the collective, it's really disheartening. The separation among us in our relationships and the crisis we are in terms of the masculine and feminine. So we've never seen the healthy masculine, we've never seen the healthy feminine rise, let alone together. Okay, we've never seen that in the collective consciousness, but it is end times, so we will soon. But it's up to each and every one of us to embody it first within us, and then we come together with others, and there's the wholeness and harmony. So I see this over and over again. The number one question people will reach out to psychics for is about love. I do not like this. Um, People don't respect us. They don't understand we're the real ministers of the world. And they want to push us into corruption. They want to push us into fortune telling. Um, I don't play that, and I feel it's my responsibility to educate my clients if they come in with that type of energy and tell them the truth. So I see a lot of performing love versus embodied connection. This is a problem. This is a crisis. They say the bigger the wedding, the quicker the divorce, right? Because we have become so superficial in our society. I think I see it over and over again. Women are just, we want the white dress, we want the ball gown, we want the huge wedding. And I'm like, isn't this an intimate connection between two and God? Isn't this intimate? We've fallen from that. It's all about the show. And I think within our relationships, because we're so unauthentic, we don't know what our true needs and wants are within relationships. For example, I work with a lot of men, okay? And deep down, their original authentic self likes polyamory. That's what they really want. Now, this man may never let himself because of religious indoctrination, feeling unaccepted by his family, um, disowning himself. Okay. Once you peel back these layers of unauthenticity, you see your real needs and wants. Then it takes courage to act that out and act in your embodied connection with you. Okay, so everything starts with us and then we go outward. Starts with energy and then the physical. Unlike modern medicine says physical and then there'll be the change. No, it's energy first to have a real lasting change in the physical. So we put on these acts. We don't really know what our needs are, let alone know how to express our needs and wants in a healthy dynamic with others. And I think a lot of times in relationship, we want to change people. I see it a lot of time with women. We want to change our men. We want him to be this. And when I'm working with women, I say, you don't really like him. You deep down, you don't really like his authentic self. Perhaps find someone else. We need to stop trying to change our partners and start choosing partners based on authenticity and embodied connection versus image, false security, trauma bonding, or here's a big one for women. I'm sorry, fantasy. We get into this illusion. We think he's this way, but in reality, he's different. Okay. You have to find someone that you don't want to change. Those are the soulmates you want to marry. Okay. And yes, that person may have like, they might be a little sloppy and like you have to find that they have flaws too, and like that can change, but it's not changing who this person is at their core. Do you know what I mean? Like we all have to grow and evolve. Like that person needs to learn how to clean a little bit better and like take better care of themselves. And to some women, that's key. That's make or break it. That's fine too. Okay. We need to stop pushing our beliefs on other people. That's cult mindset versus embodied community. Embodied community and healthy community is conscious and accepts diversity. You think this way, I think this way, I still love you. Come here and give me a hug. In families today, we see a lot of cult like mindset. We all think alike. And in real cults, the amount of shaming and punishment that comes when you step outside your family's beliefs is severe. Now, in regular families every day, it's very dysfunctional. We get shamed and cast out, and they're called the black sheep and the scapegoat. Okay, we've got all of these names. The truth teller always has a name, whistleblower. We get shamed. Um, and it's damaging us. It's damaging us. Diversity is what we need to start accepting. We need to stop pushing our beliefs on other people. We need each other more than ever. As a prophet, I'll tell you, we need to check up. We need to switch up. We need to change our minds. The outdated is no longer working for us. It's making us go into war and we're deceived by false light. Okay? We need to stop it. And our relationships will heal and be so much better once we are able to be authentic and know what our needs are and wants are truly versus like what we don't allow ourselves to do because of someone else. When I first date a guy, I'm like, what do you think about polyamory? And deep down, a lot of men want it. And I don't ever try to change him. I say, good for you for acknowledging it. Go for it. Because guess what? There are women out there that want that. Now, I don't for my personal relationship, but this world isn't all about me. I want people to be authentic. That's what I want because I know that will lead to what we actually are like living in soul's purpose. You uniquely came here not to just like, hey guys, I have the same handbag, like me too, me too, me too. Or these days, with the plastic surgery, I got the same butt, me too, same lip, me too, me too. And usually we do that for false security. We think men are going to like us more, and they don't. They don't. They don't like you before. They don't like you after. Okay. So We need to stop chasing the external world. You usually get dopamine hits when you're chasing the external world, like money, and that doesn't last. Neuroscience will say that that actually keeps you wanting more. You want to start chasing love, happiness, your joy, getting your needs met. Okay, that'll give you a different neurochemistry that is lasting. We also confuse chemistry with compatibility. Okay, we can have synchronicities in chemistry with a lot of people. I know I do. I'm people are gravitated to me. I'm like, I love you. Like we have chemistry, we sync, like, but it doesn't mean that I'm necessarily compatible with a lot of people. I think a lot of women settle the moment they get attention, the moment they find someone with synchronicities, then they lock into these relationships, want to change their husbands. Their husbands aren't really happy because they want to go do X, Y, and Z, and they cheat and they lie. Okay, so the key to that, to even cheating, is authenticity. You know, you have to find someone that doesn't want to change you instead of just settling for someone that is like you, the first person you meet with chemistry and synchronicity. And the church doesn't teach that. The church doesn't say go sit with a trusted astrologer and look at your charts. That's deemed as evil. But yet we have all of these mainstream holidays that are around astrology and people don't even know it. They throw rocks at us for trying to teach people to look up, go outside, connect with nature. What the planets say, God says, okay? You'll be amazed when you see your charts come together. This person's karmic. That's not someone really you want to marry, okay? It's going to be a lot of lessons, and you've got a ton of those within your life contract that you come to Earth with. You're meant to learn lessons and move on. Sometimes they stay, sometimes they go. But there's very few actual true, what we would call as the ones within your life contract. Maybe one or two marriage points as possibilities. We don't wait for that one. And we end up having a lot of consequences of when in religion we say living in sin, right? I call sin like you go against you. You go against your authenticity. Sinning is going against loving you and loving others. Okay, so you're living in sin. You have a child out of sin, and you have a child out of consequence, and the family's broken. You married a karmic soulmate, thinking that was the one. Carl Jung will call he has a quote where in shadow work, it's if you don't do the shadow work and the ego integration and the soul integration, you'll live a life following your shadow in darkness and call it God. You'll call it destiny, but it was really you and your choice because you're a co-creator with this universe. Okay? Now, we also avoid our honest needs to because of abandonment. We a lot of the collective right now is healing abandonment wounds. This is a huge issue right now that's affecting a lot of people. I know I've struggled with abandonment wounds and it affects everything, your relationship, your money, your focus, your ability to trust. I mean, it's very deep. So the more authentic you become, the more healed you become. Okay. You have to understand that many relationships today are their karmic mirrors. They're not soul partnerships. Okay. This is a fractal universe. It's a hologram. I see it. Okay. So a lot of times, if you look back at your relationships, you have the same issues that your partner does, just in different manifestations. Usually between a man and a woman, it's a very similar trauma and through the feminine and through the masculine. So it looks different, but two traumatized people being mirrored together. So we attract that. Um, it's same for manifestation. When you are working through your belief systems and subconscious, that'll produce a different manifestation in physical reality. It's the same for partnerships. Now, people also will mistake activation for love. They mistake that you're hitting a karmic point in your life for love. This is a time to actually grow with this partner versus cuddle up in bed with them. You know, this is a time to activate your intelligence together and grow and heal those wounds that mirrored you together versus love. Okay. Authentic relationships require self trust, and self trust threatens old survival patterns. So, a lot of us are living in chronic state of survival, and it disconnects us from our view of the truth. So, when I was saying about the 13, I'll go back to the 13 floors of a house. If you look out of the basement view, you say, what does it look like out of the basement? It's the truth. If you look in the penthouse, what does it look like out of the same address? It's a very different view, but still the truth. Same address. So it's up to you where you choose to exist. And if you're in the what I call basement level thinking, it's usually there's a religion and it puts a lens over your discernment. You think everything is Jesus and it's not. You have near death experience and you think it's all Jesus and there's more to it. Okay, there's guides, there's angels. So we are, when we're in survival, we don't trust what we actually see. We are usually having the lens of fear that is guiding our discernment. Okay. And when you first go through an awakening, this will really can trip you up. I know it tripped me up. I thought I was, in alignment with love, but I was really operating out of fear. And so everything I was seeing is fear. So when someone's not authentic with themselves, they tend to chase, settle, perform, or they disappear emotionally. I do have a video. I'm going to go live on YouTube today when I'm filming this. I don't know when this video is going to go out, but it's about the masculine container and the conscious, healthy masculine. So a lot of men, I see this over and over. They are emotionally disconnected. They're emotionally unavailable for women. Um, and I want to help speak to that issue in another video because it's very deep and it needs to transcend. Okay. We don't want to put our emotions to the side and not be present. You have to process your emotions so that you're not ran by them. When you put them on a shelf, a lot of men do, you still are ran by them. It's still in your energy field somewhere. We need to transmute it higher. Energy never dies, it only transmutes. So, this inauthenticity crisis is really a hot topic right now with what we see in politics, with they just criminalize gender affirming care. Now, I stand with the LGBTQ community, I stand with them. How do I feel about children going into these procedures? I think that we may possibly try this perspective. Okay. When a child is born and they don't feel that they connect with their body, we want to have the gender affirming surgeries at the last resort. We first want to understand why. And I think that this is where we are failing children and one another is that we just go ahead, okay, yes. We need to understand why. We choose our bodies before earth. We are not a victim in our lives. We are conscious creators. And so before earth, we choose the body that we have come here to be in for a reason. And it's actually really deeply tied to soul purpose. So I chose to be a woman. And through my life and healing, I've had to learn how to get into the feminine. That's one of my soul purposes is to become the conscious feminine because I chose that before I came to this earth. And a lot of times, if this is your child, you want to first check yourself and see what your constructs are about gender and your partner. What are his or her constructs about gender and how has that affected the child? You want to understand where the child may be coming from, why they feel this way. How did they hear that this was even possible? Um, and so there's things you can do to really get back to your authenticity. This is also affecting not just like transgenders. Um, and I don't want to attack transgender community at all. Again, I stand with LGBTQ. I think with the criminalization of this, it's a tactic that underlyingly will limit our human rights. Okay. When we say false light, that's what I think this is about. Is it's not even about protecting children because look at this administration, what they've done to children. Right now, if you go look at these camps in America, who's in there? Women and children. And he's pardoning criminals left and right and bringing them into the White House. This is not about protecting children. It is a gateway to limiting our human rights. Okay, so you just heard me say I'm not necessarily for just running to the surgery, but I also disagree with what they're doing. I'm not political in terms of a title. I am not Republican. I am not Democratic. I don't play that. I am not in the matrix in that way. They're both, when we talk about demonic, that's where we see it. Okay, there. Now, body dysmorphia is huge. we have this trend of plastic surgery that is outrageous, I would say. It's the same for a grown woman versus a child. There may just be, and you want to find out before you go under the knife, because a lot of these procedures can potentially have horrific side effects. Okay, so if you can avoid that and live and be healthy, like maybe just try this first. You want to, before you go to get nipped and tucked, you want to make sure you're healed. You want to make sure you understand possession. You want to make sure you understand fragmentation, soul integration. And you want to make sure, let's say I go higher into the penthouse consciousness, how to speak to your angels and spirit guides, how to speak to your higher mind. You have to understand, was there a trauma that split the consciousness to leading you into thinking you need to do something or that this will be better for you or that you shouldn't like you? I believe in loving our bodies. I believe in working towards, as a healer, helping us to love us, the body we chose to come in. It's hard as a woman that's very natural to see all of these like BBLs all over everything. And I'm like, it makes, even though I don't buy that, it makes me think like, I need that booty to be loved by a man. Like subconsciously, I know it's not true, but it's like my dad doesn't have a booty, my mom doesn't have a booty, I don't have a booty, and I don't need it deep down. It's we want to feel a sense of connection. Me too, me too, me too. It's something we need to look at the trauma that led us to that place. It's very tender. So I'm trying to watch my tone here, but the root is not identity, it's disembodiment. The body is your first oracle. When someone is disconnected from their body, they try to correct the mirror instead of listening to the message. So in medical intuition and mediumship, I read through my body symbology. This is tribal, this is ancient, and it's been stolen from us. So a lot of the symptoms I receive help me to read people. My doctor never told me that, which is horrific. That this mirrors a lot into mental health, the mental health community. Many of the mental health community, they're not medical intuitives and they can't tell who's influencing this person's thought. And they just put them on pills and it's called medical restraint. And when we could really be working through traumas and getting people more integrated from a fragmented state and then seeing how they feel and then seeing how they operate. And that's not an overnight thing, by the way. It's not. It takes quite some time. So extreme alteration or identity confusion will often arise when there's an imbalance in your first and second chakra, so your root and sacral chakra. Your root chakra is about security, stability, and so you don't feel safe to exist as is. You go up the spine, you have your sacral chakra. This is where there's a sense of self and pleasure is fragmented. Let's bring in Mother Mary again. Okay, Mother Mary taught on erotic sensuality. Pleasure is important in this life. Sex is important. Now it's been perverted by the world, but it is so important. And so many men that I read, they have an imbalance with their chi. They're not getting enough sex. They're not in enough pleasure. They're not having enough fun. And nobody's telling them, none of these elders, that they need that. Okay? We do need it. You can actually use it not just for pleasure, but for manifestation. Sacral chakra for women has to do with water, currency, your money. Okay. You're trying to manifest, you're trying to have a breakthrough, sacred sexuality. And you can do that with yourself, by the way. You don't need a partner for sacred sexuality. You can do that with you, which a lot of religious people are very repressed here. And we're going to see a rise of like prostate cancers, ovarian cysts, and hysterectomies and all of this because it's a disruption of it's a disharmony of the flow and the chi there. We need to correct it. The person literally believes that I will be loved once I become something else. And what I've seen from working with the collective is that is not true. We alter ourselves and we still don't feel loved. Ladies, have you ever you married somebody and you're laying in bed with a man, your husband, and you feel alone? Okay. We don't want to just get quick fix. We don't want to have kids to feel loved. We don't want to get married to just feel loved. We want to love ourselves first. We want to become more complete, authentic individuals. And before we come together in sacred union with anyone else or bring even a child on, because of the inauthenticity crisis, we'll see a rise of infertility, specifically within religions. Okay, these children, the babies, the spirits, they don't want to come through to unauthentic people, people living through um, someone else's construct or beliefs. They're high vibrational souls that are coming to the earth to grid unity consciousness. And they're looking for very, you could call it, they call it woke individuals to come through that will let them be authentic. Won't send them on a school bus to school all day long and then make them go to college and then, make them feel like shit if they don't want to. And we need to be more authentic and allow children to be more authentic. Okay. And help them to feel loved the way they are. So it's not about judgment. It's about asking who told you your original blueprint wasn't enough? Now, when it comes to gender polarity and energetic um, confusion, from more of an esoteric lens, the masculine and feminine energies are energy currents. It's not a costume, it's an embodiment. Okay. So inauthenticity arises when people try to perform polarity instead of embodying it. I think the feminine has the purse like everybody else. I think the feminine gets married in a big white dress like everybody else. I think the feminine gets the lip injections like everybody else. Okay. And that's when we've lost ourselves. That's when we don't know thyself. We don't really know what we are instead of taking the time to know thyself, heal thyself, and become more integrated. And this is honestly because society has shamed femininity, society has shamed sensuality. We can't really love who we want to love. We can't say, yeah, I want three husbands. People want to throw rocks and burn me in the pits of hell. It's like, we are so condemning in this society and we're at a breaking point. It doesn't work. It does not work. We also demonize masculinity and have a very emasculated masculine community. The patriarchy is falling. It won't, we can't stop it. Look what it's done. Look what it's done. So we have not seen the healthy masculine in places of power, but we are working towards it. Okay. And we also commodify identity and have very transactional relationships. Okay, I'm going to have that big ballroom wedding and you're divorced next year. Okay, it's transactional. We're transactional. So many women. Are you going to pay all my bills? And trust me, the masculine container does provide. I believe that. But it's our tone, ladies. It's the intention behind what's going on. We don't understand that men are in crisis right now. They can't really afford to date. They can't really heal themselves. They can't really help themselves, let alone be in a home to help to be the healthy, conscious masculine that gives structure, that initiates, that is the warrior. Okay. So we lean into this transactional self and commodify our identity, and people lose their natural energetic rhythm. They completely lose the rhythm, and they fall. A lot of men are in religions that deep down, you get to know men. They're not real Christians. They're not really into it. Okay, but it sounds good. Gets them accepted. It's harder to be me where I'm down the Bible Belt and women are looking at me nasty. Christian women are not cool to me. I had a salon suite in Frisco and, neighbors looking left and right. It was awful. I'm like, this is disgusting. I'm sure you voted for Donald Trump, right? And you throw rocks at her or the real prophet. You don't know the false light versus the light. They give all this money to the mega churches. And then someone with a humble ministry like myself that works with the homeless on the street, has preached on the street, preached in jail, laid my hands on a paralyzed woman that was able to move, helps people remotely to remove disease and diagnosis from their body. I get forgotten. The lost goddess is forgotten, but this is our time. And that's why I'm here on this platform today, because it's a reclamation. This is a revolution. The lost goddess is stepping up. The matriarchy is stepping into places of power. And the prophets that were in the Hopi prophecy prophesied it as well as the Bible with the end times. The head becomes the tail. Now, another area that I see this really affects is career purpose and money blocks. This one really hits home for a lot of people because a lot of people write and say, Jojo, what am I supposed to be doing for my career? I hate this job. And I want you to love your job. I want you to understand that true wealth, pomegranate juice, it's really good. Thinking of Mother Mary. She's so working with me right now. Pomegranate is a symbol of fertility, the feminine. Now, where was I? Your time, your freedom of time is wealth. Okay. A lot of times right now with the unhealthy masculine and unhealthy feminine, women are forced in their masculine energy and it ends up really hurting them. They end up having imbalances with anger, with their reproductive system. They have to overly compensate for when the men are not there and work, work, work. And we've gotten to this like hyper independent culture, but reality, let's be real. Women really deep down want positive ownership, whether they have money or not. Okay. When you have positive ownership, you take something on as your own. And the men are supposed to embody this when you're conscious. And you take her on as your own, say, this is my responsibility. I've got her. Why? Do you know what it's like to be a woman? Okay. We leave the house and it can be very scary out there. And whether a woman has a big, brave face on, like me, and I travel alone and I live alone, like it's still scary. And she may not just say that, but like, I'll tell you why. If I go down the street, there can be men trying to talk to me, men pull over in their cars. I've got stalkers. I've got men that write pages of emails to me telling me that they've screenshotted my pictures off of my courses and website and put it on their background of their phone to stare at. Um, it's awful. And let's be real, if a woman is walking, if I'm walking down the street at night and there's five huge men, that's scary for us. And to be real, they could take me, no matter how I could fight, they could overpower me. So when we're healthy in union, men step in and say, I got you. Now she can relax. Now she can drop down into her feminine and softness. Then she heals. Then she's resting. Then she feels safe. Okay. So we need to understand how this is affecting our work. Inauthenticity drains your life force energy. Now, your career and your money, I'm sorry, guys. Let's see. Now, your money and your will flow through alignment, not effort. That's part of the old patriarchy. The reason I got back on Instagram when I saw like when it's so funny, one of the last posts I put, I was like, the harder you work, the luckier you become. It's not true. I think I was trying to say like the more you're dedicated and disciplined, the luckier you become. And that is true. So in a sense, it was true, but we do not have to hustle to win. And the true feminine is magnetic. So she can be on the couch resting in her soft feminine and should be able to attract money and should be able to attract men and should be able to attract what she needs from that magnetic state. However, we aren't partnered with men anymore that are healthy and we aren't supported in that nature. So we're overly in our masculine and this will block your money. This will block your sight onto what you want to do for a career because then you'll go out and just hustle. And you're busting your butt over here and having five jobs running around, okay? So when someone's working against their soul design, the nervous system goes quiet in rebellion. And the symptoms of that are burnout. You have a sudden loss of motivation, financial stagnation despite doing literally everything right. The soul will withhold energy when the path isn't true. This isn't punishment, it's redirection. So, a lot of the times, if you were to understand quantum physics in the aura field, everything that you want is in your field already. The past doesn't exist, the future doesn't exist. All that exists is the present. Okay, so it's about becoming into resonance with the parts of your aura field or the manifestation that you're trying to have happen now. Okay, you get into the resonance if you already do have it. Now, in marriage and social scripts, many people marry to be chosen, to feel safe, to be on time, to avoid their inner work. Okay, so I see it all the time. I'm 38, I'm 52, I've never been married. I just want to go marry because I'm getting old. And it's an external flaw. Like you won't ever be happy. You have to trust divine timing. You have to do your inner work, and then you'll be in alignment with that soul destined soulmate that resonates with the healed you. You keep attracting the same type of issues with men because you didn't heal you, and you think, something's going to be different next time. You're creating your reality. You're not a victim. So it's your beliefs, it's your behaviors. A lot of times you go, oh, I'm cursed. You're not cursed. You're just stuck in the same cult-like mindset as everyone else in the family. Whether you're making $300,000 a year or 30, you're still broke, paycheck to paycheck, because of a belief system. So when I say the chosen one really breaks away, then they can think for themselves and they actually break the curse. It's not a curse. You're the witch, you're the wizard causing your manifestation through your belief. So you do have time. You need to do the inner work. And you have to understand that in spirituality, marriage is a soul contract. Now it's a social compliance ritual. So when I am getting married, like if a guy, I don't think I would even be with a guy or attracted to him. It's like, let's have a huge wedding. Like, I don't want a huge wedding. Like, I want to, like, when I get married, it's like, I think of like Kama Sutra. Like, I want chains all over my body and I want to look goddess like. And for him and me, like, that's what this is about. I want to have a female reverend helping us out, praying with us, someone that can see, you know, give us a healing message and, you know, um, give us some guidance and look at the stars and tell us what, things that are complicated between us, our energetic aspects that are complicated. So we know we got to work on this together where there's flow. So you have to find originally, like, if you decolonize your love life, if you take away, religiously deconstruct your love life, you might find that, like, you may not even want to be married. You might just want, a nice man that pays your bills over here and another guy over here that, you for sex. And why is that not okay? So you don't need to be married to be loved, dear one. You don't need to care what other people are saying about you. You need to walk in your authenticity, own it, and love whatever it is that you want, as long as it's not doing harm to others. Okay, come on. So when authenticity is missing in love, marriage becomes a performance, and for many women, a prison, a trap, and a slow erosion of self. So we'll see increase of breast cancer with karmic soulmates. We'll see an increase of venereal diseases with the wrong partner. And here's a big one, depression. Um, and if we're unauthentic, we can't express our needs then to our partners. So if a man's in his unhealthy masculine, she's in her unhealthy masculine, they don't even know what they want, let alone how to say, in a relationship, I need my man to give me a lot of physical touch. Now, me, that's true. When I need to get a guy, I'm like, I want to be touched all the time. I think the masculine is a container. I'm that clam. I want to be held. Okay. That's a need for me. I didn't know that at 21 years old. I didn't know that. I was thinking I needed a marriage, meaning, like, who knows what I was thinking then. But, when you find yourself, you know what you really want. Another example, when I meet a man, I'm like, I also will need my morning prayer time to myself. Okay. I want to be with you all the time, but I do need my moments of sacred isolation for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. I need my morning meditation. So I need that. I need someone I can talk to. I need someone that's going to hear me. I need someone that's going to support my work because I'm demonized often and under supported in this world. And I have a very tough mission. My work is fighting the dark, so I face a lot of darkness against me. So I need that support of a man behind me that says, this is what's up, and I hear you, and I want to know more. And to a lot of unconscious men, they can't even get into the conversation with me about what I do. So you have to know thyself before you come into these relationships, or else you're just going to be like, I wanted to be married as a kid. And there's the whole white supremacist movement right now, the cult that's at play, is pushing for people just to be trad wives. I made a video on this. Check that out on YouTube. It's How to Not Be a Trad Wife on YouTube at Jojo Papic. Come on. We are so much more than just to be farmed, okay? Now, do I think this is a farm planet? Yes. I think it's owned. And I think it's Star Wars, okay? And those demons that we just were talking about are the dark beings of the universe at play. And this is a war in a way. It is a fight for the light and the higher vibration, which is love. Okay. Now, we also, if you're unauthentic, it'll affect your health, your healing, and spiritual bypassing. So, this is a deep one. The body cannot heal when the soul is silenced. And a lot of women in these marriages are silenced by their men because part of the masculine wants submission from a woman. He doesn't want to be told what to do. You know, he is unhealthy, so he always wants to control, but the healthy masculine will recognize that the matriarch of a home is like power. Mom is like it. Like, you think of your like Nona or your Mimi or your grandma, like she's the shit, and Papa and Grandpa, Nona is like that's Grandpa, like, but she's got the gold, she's got the diamond, she looks good, she could sing, she can move her body, she can cook and bake, and she's the shit. So men should be appreciative of women and have more respect for mother. Because if Mother Earth's quakes, everything in your life saving will go with it. Okay. And you'll find out who is God. And in the end, okay, Mother always wins. We are the portals of creation, and we need you guys to hear us. We need you to not silence us. We are the intuitive. The conscious feminine is intuitive. She's more easily right brained. She's the seer. She's the healer. Okay. You don't want that silenced for you or your kids. You want to support that and give her a voice. And a lot of times when we find real divine union, the man and woman work well together. Okay. And he can say, she has good advice. She does help. Her input does make this better. And that's how you know you're in a congruency here. So inauthentic healing looks like you're chasing. A lot of women chase men. And I have to tell women, and that's why, let's be real, like there's not that many reviews for certain readings because women get mad and they want me to tell them what they want to hear. I'm like, you have to stop chasing this man. The healthy masculine is an initiator. I don't care if he's rich or poor. I don't care if I'm dating a professional athlete or somebody working over at, the car dealership. Like a man will always approach me, always. A man will always approach you. He is the natural initiator. He is the lingam, and she has the yoni. She receives from him. That's the natural order by our biology. So we need to stop chasing, ladies, and you need to stop chasing and hustling just in general. You need to learn how to co-create through either feminine or masculine energy in a harmony. And we also can spiritual bypass, and I think that we spiritualize trauma a lot and we ignore our intuition. We do a lot of healing for approval versus like instead of truth. And what comes to mind is like Catholic baptism, like people baptize their child, and it's like, what is this? This wasn't the child's choice. You're gonna go hand the kid off to some like creepy priest that like has a weird thing about kids. I'm not gonna say it for the algorithm, but like it's the same thing. A lot of unconscious women, they're putting their kids on Santa Claus's lap. And I'm just thinking, oh my God, like, do you know the story of Santa Claus? Like, this is demonic. And you just put your kid on an old man, creepy old man's lap. Things are topsy-turvy, okay? So we need to understand that we more easily are deceived by false light, and we do things like these rituals like baptisms for like approval versus truth. Okay, same for college graduation, like all these kids graduating, they don't know what they want, and why don't we tell them not to go into debt and don't go, because we don't know how to live. The baby boomers never really taught that to their own, and they have to stay in the matrix. And millennials are realizing like we went to school for all this time and like still can't get a job, and we still don't like the jobs. It's like there has to be something higher. Okay, so authenticity is key. Stop pushing these rituals on people. Stop it. Tell your child as a kid, you create the school, and they will. They're taught by seven, they're programmed like a computer. That is neuroscience. So, esoterically, illnesses often form where truth has been suppressed. This is huge. You should usually around the throat chakra and sacral chakra. So, sexual energy and your voice. Both are key for authenticity. You have to speak your truth. Your truth matters, especially in these days. Especially in these days, I like to say, oh, one person can't make a difference. That's not true. It's like a ripple effect. You influence so many. That's why they call like the chosen one that breaks away from family and comes back in. Everybody's changed after they see the truth be said. And that's obviously a choice, but one person can make a difference for sure. And your voice is needed. Now, chronic symptoms in medical intuition are usually messages that your ego or a part of you that's unresolved is refusing to sit with and be present with. You're ignoring something like the part of you that's like you have like the chronic headaches, like you've been avoiding something. You have now the cancer, you've been avoiding taking care of yourself and eating processed food every day. Um, we need to listen to our bodies and reconnect with our bodies again in order to heal. And we need to stop refusing the truth and we need to accept the truth more deeply. Authentic healing requires radical honesty, and the nervous system will also need safety in order to operate through that authenticity. And you can't like you have to have this willingness to disappoint other people. You do. You can't just like be a people pleaser or you will be inauthentic. And I help people to understand like I see you as people pleaser, archetypal energy. We have many parts to us. And maybe we should integrate this part of us and tune into more of like, I'm going to please myself. I'm not just going to do this because of someone else, or I'm going to lower my voice so that I am approved of. Use your voice. And the more you are authentic, the more you are connected to your true soulmates. Okay. They're waiting for you to step into authenticity. You're not vibrating with them. You're not resonating with them because you're not authentic yet. So get into that. Spiritual root of inauthenticity at the highest level is fear of being seen by source or as you truly are. Let me repeat that. At the highest level, inauthenticity is fear of being seen by source as you truly are. Fear gets in the way of so much, so much. Okay? We're taught early if I'm myself, I lose love, which for the black sheep, this is huge. Like a lot of children are like they say things because they're not allowed to be themselves. They're not allowed to walk and say the way they want to speak. So we teach children that if I speak my truth, I'm not safe. If I speak my truth, I'll be punished. If I listen to my body, I'll be rejected. So the mask becomes survival. Here's a closing message for you guys. Authenticity isn't a trend, it's a spiritual responsibility, and your soul did not come here to be edited, filtered, reshaped, or approved of. It came here to be inhabited and embodied. Healing begins the moment you stop saying, who should I be? And start asking, what feels true in my body right now? Thank you.